Hey, if you're still selling tax prep and bookkeeping only, but you're kind of giving away the advisory for free, I can promise you sooner or later you're going to regret it. Because when things start to get more complex, things like the books get messier, the client opens a new bank account, they open a new credit card, and they want you to just add that in real quick. When the taxes get a little bit more to file, and the software for the taxes starts to get more expensive. Those are easy ways for us as accountants to think of raising our prices on our clients. But I want you to pause and think a little bigger, because when your clients are coming to you with questions, advisory questions outside of the compliance stuff, that's where you raise the prices. That's where you find yourself getting paid top tier advisory fees and not bottom tier compliance only fees. They don't need to have more transactions for you to have more value to them. You know what I mean? So if you're doing that right now, take a minute, listen to this episode, check it out, because at that point where you're just charging for the bookkeeping and the tax prep, let's just say who it is right now. It's Intuit. You're no different than a suite of Intuit products, TurboTax and QuickBooks Live. And if they want to check the price, last I checked, QuickBooks Live is $300 a month, and that's $3,600 a year. And business tax return, they charge $1,749. So that's $5,300 plus a year for compliance only from QuickBooks, from Intuit. Those are my prices. I charge more. And if you're not charging more, you should be at least starting there until you're comfortable charging more. And you might say, oh, the clients I have can't afford that. I want you to stop and remember, that's not your problem. So sometimes people operate businesses that break even, and because they've designed it that way. Have you ever thought about that? Sometimes a client will have a business as a hobby and it just grows and grows, and they're willing to just keep running it at a loss. And you think you're doing them a favor by sticking around with them, giving them a discount. But just because they're running a business as a hobby doesn't mean that Office Depot gives them a discount on their office supplies. It also doesn't mean that attorneys are going to give them discounted services to do their documentation. So why should you? I actually broke this down in a recent session inside our school community. Quick side note, if you're not in the community yet, check it out. It's the same content you're getting here, but with so much more. You get the templates, the scripts, the monthly mastermind, the live Q&A, and you get actual support from me. Tons of valuable resources that I've built at the One Stop Advisors school community. But back to what I was saying. If you're looking to serve a small community, smaller businesses that need the help, and they're very fee conscious and price sensitive, I argue that you must at least charge these fees at a minimum. And here's what they are: $450 a month or $5,000 pay for the year. People always want a discount if they pay for the full year. Calendar cycle renewals. It's not as hard as you think to manage your practice on a calendar basis renewal. And it includes the tax return, whether I meet you in July or if I meet you in January. So set a goal. If you're working this as a side hustle, or you're starting your firm, or you're thinking about it, your first client or your first set of clients, set a goal of 20 clients on this level of compliance only work. That's $100K. And I know you can make way more than that running your own firm. Of course, that's not the dream, but just imagine if you are working at a firm, thinking about doing it on your own. That's an achievable goal for, let's say, year one, and the sky's the limit from there, wherever you want to take it. Something that would have piqued my interest if somebody put it in those terms for me, because along the way, you'll also find a handful of clients when you're looking for that first 20 that need more and are willing to pay more. And what we're talking about today, I'm glad you're here. This is the Scaling Smart podcast for accountants serious about growth and running their own firm on their own terms. I'm Brian. I run a firm, One Stop CPA, and today we're breaking down why you should lead with your advisory offers, not hide it or bury it in your compliance offer. All right, so why does this matter? Here's why this matters. If you take on too many of those friend clients or those discounted friends of friends, those, one-off favor clients, thinking that they're going to grow into something bigger, before you know it, you'll reach capacity. And when that great client shows up, the one that's worth $3,000 a month plus, or one-time tax planning and advisory engagement that you could really get paid a lot off of, you won't be available. You'll be too busy serving compliance-only clients. Trust me, I've been there. Even when you have a team, there's only one of you. I can delegate a lot of the work, but I can't delegate my calendar. I can't be on unlimited number of strategy session calls. I only have so much time to deliver quality. And if I fill those slots with low value clients, I rob myself of the chance to work with high value ones. That's why you need to think of yourself like a coach building a roster. A lot of times you'll hear other accounting coaches will maybe say, you're on a plane and you only have, first class, business class, that kind of thing. But I like that. I'm into sports. I'm into basketball. So I think of it as like a coach building a roster. If you've got, let's say, 12 slots on your basketball team, and are you willing to put the top tier players who can win championships, or are you filling it with whoever shows up that day at the park? You can only get so many seats on your bench, and you got to choose wisely. And here's the second piece. Don't hide your advisory fees. Clients rejecting you isn't always a bad thing. In fact, it's necessary. Every no clears the space for the right yes. And let me tell you, this is the year 2025, one of the best times, in my opinion, to be a small firm owner. With AI and technology where it is, and all the training and coaching that's out there, there are tools that will help shortcut your growth in ways I never had, even when I started my firm just back in 2017, 8 years ago. But you still got to build the muscle of running your own business. Being a firm owner is a different muscle than being a technician at a firm. I know this. This is what I was. I was behind the scenes doing a lot of tax prep, talking to a handful of clients only in certain capacity, not in the pricing conversation, not during the advisory calls. So you got to think of this as a different approach. And that also means pricing differently. So if Intuit is charging, we love Intuit, no problems there, just putting it out there. If Intuit is charging $5,300 a year for bookkeeping plus a business tax return, why are you charging less? In fact, you should probably be charging double, because unlike Intuit, you're not just giving them compliance, you're probably giving them strategy, insights, foresight, telling them about transactions they could set up and save money with their business. And if you're niching into a specific industry, that makes you way more valuable. Can't even compare. Some of you may be saying, what if your clients can't afford it? And that's not your problem. If a business or a business owner can't afford an accountant at the baseline level for their compliance, they're going to have to figure it out themselves with TurboTax, QuickBooks, or whoever. You can't run your firm on discounts and sympathy because you're not a charity. You're trying to run a business. I've learned this the hard way, of course. Last year, all this comes from experience for sure, from hard fought and learned experience. But last year, I had to let go of a client. I went through this a few times where I got rid of a bunch of clients and replaced them with one. That client being so much more valuable and a different style of engagement that I said, I'm just going to go after this, and whoever wants to come along with me will come along with me. And I rebuilt my firm a couple times this way. So last year I had to get rid of a client who came to me, referred from somebody close to me. And I've been giving them a discount, and I've always told them, I always told myself I would just keep giving them this discount and then eventually get them on something. But what happened? They started treating me as if I was their CFO, asking me about this, asking me about that. And they were thinking that it would just be included in the discounted price I was already giving them. So what I had to do, I had to show them the QuickBooks TurboTax comparison. And only then did they realize that the value I was giving them for free. So some clients, when you draw the line, they'll step up and pay for it, but you have to say it. Others won't, and you got to be okay with letting those go. And don't forget this. Remember, your roster is not unlimited. So every time you let a wrong client stay, you block that right all-star client from coming in and joining the team. I've had to cut the bottom 10% of my clients before, and every time I replace them with one client that was worth 10x what those clients were giving. So I never felt a dip in revenue, only growth year after year. So here's the lesson. Don't let compliance only work fill up your bench. Protect your calendar, lead with the advisory offer, and don't apologize for being better than what else is out there. They have clients, but your clients need you for a whole different reason. And trust me, we're not going to put Intuit out of business with this video. You have to be charging at least what they're charging is my recommendation there. And I just wanted to shed light there because, again, we went over this in our community where I was walking through the numbers with someone, and it was just eye-opening for them. They didn't even know that's what our competition is. And when we say advisory has to lead, here's why this is kind of a non-negotiable, because compliance work, tax prep, and bookkeeping is like the uniform. Every player needs one, and it's necessary, but it's not what wins the game. The game plan, the coaching, the strategy, that's the advisory. So that's what separates the pros from the amateurs. And if you're selling your compliance as your whole thing, you're basically telling them, join my team, here's a jersey. You have to let clients know that you have pricing in place, and yeah, it's not for everyone. And if you're taking on everyone, that's a huge mistake that like I said, you'll learn fast. Complexity always will increase. That client who seems simple today will outgrow your compliance bundle tomorrow. Compliance always gets heavier, and compliance is getting commoditized. Like we said, TurboTax, QuickBooks, AI tools, they're doing it faster. There's new technology, and I don't know that the clients are going to, adopt it. It's really getting better on the accountant firm owner side. Eventually, this stuff is going to be quicker and easier, and you're going to have to find a way to differentiate yourself. Advisory is how you do it. And remember, no software can sit with your clients and say things like, what are your goals? Where do you want to take this in 3 years? How do we align your tax strategy with your wealth strategy? That's you. That's what you do. That's your game plan. That's you, the coach, building the game plan. So that's how you answer. You don't even have to answer the question, but a client will never come to you when you have that type of relationship with them and say, why am I paying you instead of just using the software? Because I have this product and it's called advisory. Compliance is included with it. We handle that for you as part of our white glove service. That's how I do it. When I talk to a new client, or let's say it's a renewal time for an existing client, I'll start with the advisory conversation always in the game plan. And you also have to segment your offer. Not everybody needs to have your full on year-round coaching. Monthly check-ins versus quarterly check-ins could save them some money there. I think of it in levels of coaching. Like tier 1 is your fundamentals. This is basic support. We'll give you the fundamentals so that you're ready for, whatever it is that you're working on. Can I guarantee you win the championship this way? I can't, because this is just fundamentals. Tier 2 is running plays. Now we're getting more calculated, more targeted. We're doing real estate support, lending support, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. We're going to help you execute bigger moves with confidence. That's like running plays. And then tier 3 is like your championship coaching, merger and acquisition readiness, private equity preparation, KPI dashboards. This is for clients who are trying to operate at a championship level. So none of these tiers start with X amount of transactions, this tax return, that tax return. They all start with outcomes, compliance included, but it's not the product. That's how I sell it. Of course, it means you have to scope it properly, but the game plan first before you get started. So while you're running your firm and you're starting out, I want to just give you some mistakes to avoid. Number one mistake you can avoid is putting bench warmers in your starting lineup. If you fill your roster, your frontline clients, with being low value compliance work, you're going to burn out and you're going to block the space where A+ clients won't feel like they belong on your team. Mistake number 2 is trying to win games with just the uniform. If you lead with just compliance, you're not going to win the tax game. You're directly comparing me to software, then you're going to lose every time, because that's not where the game gets won. The game gets won with running plays and doing championship level coaching. Mistake number 3, hiding your advisory offer. If you don't position this as a separate thing that you do and educate your clients on it, they will assume that it's included. They'll scope creep you, resist you when you raise prices, and treat you like a compliance only provider. And you can't scale a winning team that way. To build a firm that grows, you need a roster full of A+ players and a clear game plan. Advisory has to lead, and of course, compliance supports it. So here's the big takeaway. Lead with the advisory, don't hide it. Know what these other compliance offers are so that you can know where you stand in your offer. And don't be afraid to show that to clients and see what their knee-jerk reaction is to when you throw that out. And remember, advisory is how you prove your value. It's how you justify premium pricing. It's how you avoid being a commodity service. Tax prep and bookkeeping compliance definitely matters, but they're not why the right clients will choose you. They'll choose you because you bring clarity, strategy, and guide their future. The next time you're talking to a prospect or you're sitting down at a renewal, ask yourself, am I leading with the advisory offer or am I kind of hiding it? Because the accountants who lead with it, those are the ones that are building firms that scale smart. Thanks for listening to Scaling Smart, the podcast for accountants serious about growth and running their own firm on their own terms. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with another accountant who needs to hear it. Don't forget to check the show notes for the resources, the templates, and more ways to scale smarter, not harder. I'm Brian, and I'll see you in the next episode.